In this episode of Heart and Head Work, we're joined by Jen Ungvichian, Maven's incredible COO and the secret sauce behind our thriving team culture. We'll be talking about how to prioritize what matters most, turn it into a habit, and find out how to keep yourself accountable to that habit. Start small and remember, failure is just part of the process. Whether you're an entrepreneur growing your team or a leader looking to build better habits within your company and within your people, these practical strategies will help you create a culture of consistency, accountability, and success. Welcome to Heart and Head Work, the podcast for women who want to lead with strategy and soul.
I'm Tessa, the people connector who embraces vulnerability and dreams big.
And I'm Rocky, the strategist who thrives on logic and turns vision into action.
We combined our superpowers and founded Maven, a community that empowers women.
Including Maven District, the largest collective of women-owned small businesses in the world.
This podcast is for women like you, building something real and wanting more than just business advice.
You'll hear honest conversations, practical tools, and personal stories about what it actually takes to build purpose-driven businesses.
If you're building with your whole self, heart and head, this is a space for you.
Join us on the journey.
Welcome back, lovelies. We're so glad you're still here. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. You know how we like to jump right in with a quick little container set up. So before we get started, I want to ask these two lovelies next to me, what is your make-believe superpower that you would love to have if you could wave a magic wand?
Like a superhero?
Like a
Superpower?
superhero,
Okay.
Not what you already believe is your superpower.
My list is long.
I know.
Where do I even begin?
Of the ones you want or the ones you believe you have?
This is why
The latter.
we said like a superhero.
Got it. Okay, I'm in.
Make believe. Who's got it?
Jen.
Oh,
Jen.
always coming in hot. Okay. My make-believe superpower would be to speak any language. So I could speak to anyone.
Freaking Jen and her continual connection to every single person at any point in time is truly amazing.
A load of shit when she says she doesn't like people.
I mean, in all fairness, I haven't said that once.
It's fair. We don't want to taint the viewers with information
She loves
they don't
people,
know.
actually.
All right, Tessa, what's yours?
Okay. I would say I have a lot of dreams that I can fly without other things propelling me.
Like a plane?
Yeah, like I could run really fast and hop off a cliff and just suspend myself and then sort of breaststroke to the next tree to land on top. I have those dreams and I've had those dreams my entire life and still have them. So that's the dream. Like sometimes I want to try it just to see.
Do you land like the super squirrels? Have you seen like
That all
memes?
squirrels land like superheroes.
yes, one fist back, one fist down. It's like
But my favorite part about your superpower is that you suspend in time for just a moment before you propel yourself.
Yeah, like
with a beautiful
because
breaststroke.
I'm really
Yes.
fast.
Yes. Yes. No, I love it.
Yeah, that's my little rocket.
Okay, one that I don't have, maybe, is teleportation.
That would be cool.
Go anywhere, any moment, boom. Could see the world really easily.
Yeah.
Also, you love saving time.
I love an efficient form of travel, an efficient form of muscle use, an efficient form of anything. Ooh.
Will this make me more efficient?
Yes.
Yes. Teleportation.
Yes, teleportation.
Okay. All right, let's jump right in because I think this is a nice setup. As you start to get to know us viewers, maybe these answers make sense. And you know we're going to ask Jen back. Jen, thank you for saying yes because, I mean, you are in charge of experience and culture at Maven, but what we really know you're probably one of the best at of anyone we've met is habits, how to build them and how to maintain them. It's something you are incredible at. I think that you just mentioned to us that the number was 428.
Oh yeah, I was supposed to remember
428.
that number and I've already forgotten it.
428 days in a row that you have done the puzzle. No.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking I sounded so cool at the beginning, and then you told everyone that I did puzzles every day. Got it.
Nerd alert.
Yeah, but you
100%.
won't get Alzheimer's.
You know what? Nerds around the world. They have the superpowers.
No, I fully embrace my nerdiness. Yeah, so the puzzles are one of my like basic habits, right? I think we very often think of habits as chores, right? We create habits to do the things we don't want to do, but really we create habits. The easiest habits we create are the ones that we love, right? We love going to coffee.
We even call them something different. We call them rituals.
Gosh.
Yep.
Take those notes, Tessa.
I'm writing it down.
Don't miss it.
And so, it's the connotation, but I don't think I'm a genius at creating habits. It's that I like to do the things I like to do, right? And then I pair that with something that I might be challenging myself with, right? So, I mean, habit stacking, I didn't come up with this either, but...
Habit stacking? Oh my gosh. These are my follow-up questions.
Tessa is furiously writing notes. Literally the entire page is covered with everything Jen has to say.
You would think that Tessa and I didn't spend like 60 hours a week together.
Shocked.
By the way, she's taking notes. I really love this. But, the puzzles came from something like I really loved being able to wake up my mind that way. And I really wanted to not wake up and look at my email. I think we talked about this in a previous episode. Like, start your day with the tone you want to set, right? And I was like, I really want to wake up my brain. And the first thing I do, like I think millions of people, is pick up my phone, right? But I'm like, I don't want to get on social media. I don't want to check my email, but I do like using my brain, and I love a little mini crossword or a, word puzzle or whatever. So I just started doing that, and then it became fun because I was tracking every day that I did it, and now I'm 28 days in, and
That's crazy. Congratulations.
Thanks. But I don't think of that as work. I'm not like, oh, I'm creating such a good habit that I'm waking up and doing a puzzle. I'm like, oh, this just wakes up my brain, and then I can go and do whatever I need to in my day, right? I carry on with the rest of my habits.
Okay, should we end the podcast now?
Yeah.
we're
She's
good?
dropped all the knowledge. We're done.
Okay. We're not really going to end. We have more questions for Jen.
But I put away my little notes because I thought we were done. I was ready. I was going to go back to skiing. Okay. I think it's most important. I mean, what you just said is that you're building habits that are not just for chores. They're also for things of pleasure, which is mind blowing. I can't even wrap my head around that because most of my habits are for avoiding something bad or ensuring I can get to something good, but they are not inherently good themselves. So clearly you have a much different version of what a habit is. And I really just actually want to dive into that more. I need you to tell me, how do you build a habit for something of pleasure?
Yeah, I think it's that habit stacking, right? Like we do things every day that...
Can you define habit stacking? I think I know what it means, but just maybe not.
Yeah, I mean...
Context clues.
Yeah, so it is taking something that is already something you normally do, a habit you've already built. You're very planted in. And then you just stack one thing on top of it, right? One little thing to create a new habit. So a good example would be, nobody tells you to brush your teeth every day, but that is a habit. Everybody brushes their teeth. Oh, Rocky's looking at me like maybe she doesn't. Okay, but in theory...
Just kidding.
Brushing your teeth is
yes.
Right? And so is there something you can do while you brush your teeth that you're trying to incorporate in as a habit? I don't know. It could be a little stretch at the bathroom sink, right? Or I don't know. I go and make my coffee. Like I start my coffee.
I do affirmations.
Oh.
I didn't even realize that until you just said it. I'm like sitting there brushing my teeth and I'm just telling myself like, you are so fucking cool, man.
Yeah. So I think the hardest thing about a habit is starting it, right? So if you start your habit with something you're already ingrained in doing, then the start isn't the problem.
Probably also it sounds like it would make your success rate higher.
Right. It's always right. I mean, it's the way every habit is taught, right? I think Rocky mentioned before that I started running about 7 months ago, and there were plenty of days that I would get dressed, put on my running shoes, and just make the promise to myself that I would walk out the door. And if I got out the door and didn't want to go, then I would try again later.
Man. This makes me think instantly of willpower, because this idea that, you run is the theory because you have enough drive to run every day. And that is actually very much a fallacy because all of us have, for the most part, the same quantity of willpower. Some of us have a little bit more naturally, but so that's not driving you. You're not getting up and going, I'm going to run. You're getting up and going, I'm going to tie my shoes.
Yeah. Some days are like that, right? Yeah. And so habit stacking I found was the easiest way to build a new habit. So I think, Rocky, you mentioned that you create habits to avoid other things. But
yes.
I think it's just a shift in the way you frame that, right? Like you're avoiding
Teach
things.
me, I'm listening.
Well, no, like you're avoiding things, right? I mean, I create plenty of habits out of that, but what are you ultimately trying to get to? Like what's the thing, right?
Yeah, so mine is I want to avoid overwhelm. Right. That's the reason I often create a habit. Right. But really, in the positive spin, I want to feel in the flow and I want to feel in like a balanced place.
Yeah. So I think when you're focused on...
It's not always avoidance.
No, it's not always avoidance.
Did you write it down?
Well,
right.
I already wrote that question down for myself, so I'm therapist.
Oh,
Jen, what is your formal certification as a therapist to
none.
Us on habits?
None.
Okay, great. That's probably a good preface.
None. I have, read lots of things, listened to lots of things, and I've had lots of great mentors. Right. So I'm just sharing everything.
Share us.
I've learned.
Share us a mentor.
Share us a mentor.
Yeah, like I want to hear about. I don't know any of your mentors. Who's a mentor that taught you something, and what was it regarding habits?
The habit stacking one, and it's by far. I know that
Smart.
This sounds so repetitive, but starting a habit is the hardest thing, right? And we do it all the time, right? Where we on Monday, I'm going to become this person. I'm going to become a 4 a.m. person.
God,
I'm going
New
to
Year's Eve,
become a runner.
the moment.
Right. We want these big moments to start creating habits or becoming the person that does these things that gets us to our end goal. We move from 0 to 100 all the time, right? And I am traditionally not a person that's great at recognizing small wins, right? I like big goals. And so I very often feel like a failure if I don't go straight to a big goal. But habits aren't about just the goal, right? Habits are all the little things that help support you to get there, right? So last year, my uncomfortable challenge was to wake up at 4 a.m.
That's a terrible idea.
Yeah, it was.
Why did you pick that? I know you did it because we all watched you do it, and we knew you couldn't be anywhere past 8 p.m. But why?
In all fairness, that
just to be uncomfortable.
Do you always
even in another language? Pourquoi? Like what the fuck, yo? Why 4 a.m.?
Yeah,
Do you always pick an uncomfortable challenge every year?
I always want to do something that challenges me, that I have to set my mind to, and it takes me into just a discomfort.
Do you always have one going on? And do you keep it to one so you're not simultaneously working on more than one uncomfortable challenge?
Personally, yes. Yeah.
I mean, that's probably not even just for you. That's
Yeah.
probably an important thing to remember. It's the priority
Yeah.
definition. That priority was originally a singular word, and we've turned it into priorities, which is actually an impossible accomplishment because you can only prioritize one thing at a time. The habit. Okay, so tell us about this
so
weird idea of waking up at 4 a.m.
Yeah, so I've always been an early morning person, just all my life. And but I've always been an early morning person that gets up and runs out the door, right? I like to hit the ground running.
You are not a game player in this previous life. Like you wouldn't wake up and do something to get your...
No, I would wake up and hit my morning routine, grab my coffee, and I'm like out the door, whether that's to go to the gym or to head into work or to start my day. I'm waking up and hitting the ground running. And what I found was I didn't love that. I wanted to create time in the morning to have a habit or ritual that was just for me. So the first thing was it started with the puzzles. So my alarm would go off, not at 4 a.m., but I would just back it up 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And I didn't have to get out of bed. I would do my puzzles and then get out of bed. And then I would back it up again, another 10 minutes, and then do my puzzles, right? Once I felt very confident and that felt comfortable, then I would stack something else on top of it. So I added meditation, right, which took a lot of different forms. And it took me a minute to find what felt good for me. So anywhere from just a quiet meditation, eyes closed, or some free writing or whatever. It was just my meditative space. So from there, I just kept backing it up. And then it allowed me to keep adding things on top of it. So that was my habit stacking, right? So I didn't go from waking up early to waking up at 4 a.m., doing puzzles, meditating. It's too much. It sets you up for failure, right?
And it's really big, it sounds like, because even if you're a morning person, you're getting up at 6 a.m. Or, okay, that's my early morning. Okay, clearly yours is earlier. 5 a.m., even an hour is a pretty huge physical shift.
Yes, it's a huge shift for sure. And so, I definitely tried it. I was like, Monday morning, 4 a.m. alarm. That's how it's going to work. I did not get up at 4 a.m.
Ooh, and that can be such a feeling of I suck at this, and probably
Never mind.
Yeah,
Totally. And so I was creating this habit of getting up at 4 a.m., which I know just sounds insane and felt insane, but I was doing it so that I could create time for myself. Because what I knew was I wasn't creating time for myself during the day. I wasn't creating time for myself after work.
This goes back to the self-first oxygen mask, but I also love that what you're saying is you didn't just set this goal that is far-fetched, like 4 a.m. for no reason. It sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, that you're actually shifting who you wanted to be. You wanted to be someone who prioritized themselves first.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and so that's where I think for me, the ease in creating habits came from was really understanding why I was creating the habit. Like, why is it important that I wake up at 4 a.m. rather than waking up at 6 a.m. and creating that space? Because I knew the other things, right? Like, I think it's easy to get into a habit form or designing your life in ways where you just put up blockades, right? I put up the blockade that I wanted to be able to start work at 7. I know this because that's where my brain works the best is early morning, right? So I knew I didn't want to compromise that. But in order to do that, my sacrifice either had to be get up early or make time later. And for me, it personally just seemed easier for me to start trying to get up early rather than making time later. Those are just the options, right? And that will change from person to person.
Well, I relate this to fishing, actually. And I know this is a weird thing. If anybody else fly fishes, you learn that trout are really, really smart, but they're also really fucking lazy. So if you can unlock what they're after from a laziness standpoint, you can catch them easier. And this idea with them is that like they don't want to work for food. So they're going to position themselves strategically in places so that the path of least resistance gets them the highest amount of food. And humans are exactly the same because this is just a natural habit for us. And so, yeah, to identify if it's hard for you at the end of the day when you're tired and you've already given all your energy, you're done. Of course, you're not going to do anything for yourself. You're putting yourself in a position of challenge rather than ease. And the trade-off is you got to be in discomfort for 4 a.m.
For sure.
Still ridiculous.
Right. It's discomfort on either side, right? And for the record, I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. anymore because
thank God. I was worried. I was worried.
I think Tessa mentioned that discomfort thing. That was my challenge to myself for the year. And what I realized is that I had also put up some things that made my life harder. So me creating this 4 a.m. habit allowed me to spend time, like give myself some me time. But in the long run, I knew that for me wasn't sustainable. Like I don't want to go to bed at 7 p.m. every night to wake up at 4 a.m. to create time for myself, right? Which meant that I had to evaluate the other things that were creating challenges in my life. And the question to myself is, what habits can you create? What blockades are you willing to compromise on in order to create the life you want to create, to show up in the way you want to show up?
This makes me think, did either of you read The Power of Habit?
Yes.
I'm
probably stealing everything from that.
I mean, great resource, amazing book. Nothing's original content anymore. Like, we're all cycling something from ancient times. But in there, they talk about cornerstone habits, which it sounds like the combination of these two things, both this idea of taking small habits, making sure the habit is something easy to accomplish, the bite-sized wins. The other side is like, if you look deep enough, you ask my favorite question, why, multiple times, you're not going to find a surface level habit. You got to get down to the one that is going to have a ripple effect on the rest of the habits you build. And the example they always give is if you want to quit smoking, you can't just have that as your goal. You can't just quit smoking. You actually have to shift your perspective of, I want to be a healthy person, right? An end result that is your everyday personality trait. And then I'm going to exercise. And by default, if I get into that activity, exercise is going to make me feel like I want to eat better. It's going to make me feel like I want to stop smoking because my body is going to start rejecting the dichotomy of the other feeling. And so that cornerstone habit component takes a lot longer to find. But man, when you find that, now we're talking about efficiency. We're maximizing the potential results because you're going to solve 4 different habits instead of just one. Then it's not the hardest one.
I think it also goes back to what Jen was saying, habits as chores
versus
something joyful or, something you really love. Like what she's desiring is, I want to create space for myself, right? But not, it's that lens is like, what is the habit? Is it quitting smoking? No, it's, I want to feel healthy.
Yes.
That's very different than saying, focusing on the negative. And every time you smoke a cigarette, you're shaming yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. The avoidance of overwhelm versus I want to feel at peace. I want to be a person with time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it turns into, I liked how you talked about, like, you didn't expect yourself, it's like you can celebrate the small wins, right? But you didn't expect yourself to jump up that day one to 4 a.m. Yeah. And I think if we can lower our expectations a bit around it and create a roadmap, because you went from, okay, whatever you were waking up before, let's call it 6 because anything before that seems crazy. But we know, Jen, it was probably 5. So 5 minutes, 4:55, that alarm goes off. And then you're like, cool, I won today. Even though the goal is 4 a.m., but you still got an extra 5 minutes to yourself, right? So I love this roadmap rather than, oh, I'm going to be this 4 a.m. waker-upper. Like that's a very different thing to think. Like we knew you were working on that, but in my head, I assumed January 2nd, you basically woke up at 4 a.m. And
I mean, I tried.
you tried. And then we're like, okay, that's not sustainable. How are we going to do that? So to just do this, we always call it bite size, eat the elephant in small bite size. But I think that's really key because I think you can get discouraged easily when you're starting a habit because you're like, ugh, didn't wake up 4 a.m., fail. But if it's like, ooh, I got 5 extra minutes to myself, tomorrow I'm going to try for 6.
And this is where I want to follow up with more on, Jen, is yes, you're setting yourself up for success by bite size, but what happens when you fail anyway? What do you do and how do you reset? How do you manage and keep pushing through the habit? Because again, willpower may not be the only superpower.
Yeah. So, I think that the first step is, why did you fail? Like why, like
the why,
like what makes it a failure, right? Because in theory, the habit that you set for yourself is for yourself, right? So
can you say that again louder for the people in the back?
Or just for Rocky?
Just for me.
Okay.
But I'm going to pretend like it's for other people.
But this is where I say
No, say it
No,
again.
it's for real. We gotta write that down.
Say it again.
Now, did you write it down? I need to read it.
Okay.
No, in theory, the habit you set for yourself is for you. It's not for anyone else, right? It's to create something for you. So when you quote unquote fail, it's hard because you're failing yourself. But you're the one who put boundaries on it, right? This is why I say, I was very upset when I didn't wake up at 4 a.m. on January 2nd. But nobody told me I needed to wake up at 4 a.m. Nobody told me that this had to be the goal. This is just some arbitrary thing I came up with to create this other goal, right? And I said, well, if the goal is to create space for myself, time where I didn't immediately check my phone or do whatever, then that's the thing I need to do. It's not about the 4 a.m., right? I backed up to the 4 a.m. because, well, that seemed like a hard mindset thing to do, right? But I also, the more I could create space for myself, the more time I needed to do that, right? And so 5 minutes of puzzles to 10 minutes of puzzles to 10 minutes of puzzles plus meditation, puzzles, meditation, a little
I know you're saying it, but my brain is just, you can't see, it's just circles of I don't get it, I don't get it, I don't get it, I don't get it.
And
because we don't want to disappoint ourselves, right? But the point is no one's giving us a medal for waking up at 4 a.m. But what she's getting is, ooh, that felt nice to have a little extra space. Ooh, what could I stack on top of that?
So
I've always wanted to be into meditation. Oh, I'm going to stack that too. Oh, I actually just want to feel good by the end of the hour.
Here's the other thing. When you fail at a habit, I think the other question you have to ask yourself is this the habit I need? Because
are you taking notes, Tessa?
I am.
Here's the thing.
That's good.
This is the same theory, right? As if you're not a morning person, you are not going to create the habit of all of a sudden waking up at 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m. Are you working against your natural tendency?
If you are not a people person who likes social activities, are you going to live in a city and be in social activity? No, Rocky, bad call.
Yeah. So
Move
are
to
you
the
forcing
mountains.
yourself, right?
Yes.
I know we're getting to this, but I think this really is what I had to remember when we were working with the team.
Tell me more.
Okay.
Because I didn't know this is where we were headed, but I like the direction.
Okay. So we talk about everyone being able to show up as themselves, right? But we all have a common goal. So we got people on our team who are not early morning people. So we don't schedule our stand-up at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. We schedule at 10 a.m., right? Because that's our non-negotiable. People have to show up to work by then. They have a minute to warm up, to get into their day. That might not work for your business. It works for ours, right? But when we say we let people show up as they are, we build habits with that in consideration, right? So it can't be the same for everyone.
Then how do you make it the same for everyone? How do you do the 10 a.m.?
You make the goal so that the 10 a.m. stand-up is the non-negotiable. With every person, you problem solve, you build habits for them to get there.
Give me an example.
Okay.
Be specific. You don't have to say names though.
Let's see.
Actually, our girls, our team would probably love
To be
little shout out.
immediately. Oh, I was going to say called out, but shout out is great.
Turning it to the positive because it's not about overwhelm. It's
not about overwhelm.
The positive.
Yeah. So this is a little contradictory to, right? Like I think Tessa likes to start her morning with movement. That's a non-negotiable for you, right?
Non-negotiable.
Right. Rocky and I like to hit the ground running. I think we have early morning brain hours.
I have a no alarm clock, non-negotiable.
You have a no
I
alarm
wake
clock.
up with the sun.
Yeah. So we actually have someone else on our team that has just started doing that. That was something important to her, which meant that 9 a.m. might not be possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we move the stand up to 10 a.m., it gives her a little bit of that time, right? To do that. Now, it's not up to me to figure out how to get her to that 10 a.m. meeting. It is up to her to figure out if that waking up with the sun works for her to also come prepared, right? Because the non-negotiable is that you have to come to the meeting and you have to be prepared for the meeting, right? Your habit can't intrude on that, right? We also know what people need in order to prep, right? So some of our staff prepped all the time. Some people need advanced warning. They need more time to think through the questions and getting people to understand what feels good and natural for them is something that I think we're good at talking about. Sometimes we misstep, right? We try to create a process that works for the business first, and then we find it's failing with our team because it doesn't resonate with them. So this is where I think what we've really tried to do and what we spend our one-on-one with our team members on is having them talk through what is working for them.
Feedback
and this, because this was such a personal journey for me, and hopefully being able to translate that is, what are your natural skills and what feels good for you and what would you like to change, right? I know we're talking about we're putting the spin on habits that we're always trying to work toward. It's to create something else, but it doesn't mean we can't change like our quote unquote like bad behaviors, right? There are things that I would like to change about myself, like the way I work or whatever that might be. But again, it's the same pattern, right? I set the boundaries for that.
Yeah, I'm hearing that the way in which you've done it, which I think, we obviously all support, so I'm not going to act like this is a huge surprise, but to give our team agency to be able to be themselves, we had to create some things for the business side purely that they could not go against, those being the non-negotiables. And then from there, we are helping to coach them from an outside perspective of, okay, if this is the habit you want, you have the agency to go do whatever you want around it. The business will help support it as long as you give it's not purely transactional, but we are also not forgetting that it is a transaction to the business because they are part of the business.
And also, I think that something important is that it's a bit additional. We're asking them for them to really own their personal responsibility to be ready for that 10 a.m., right?
Yeah.
So whatever it is you need to do, I think of my morning ritual, which has been in place for a really long time, and it'll get tweaked. I love this idea of habit stacking. I never considered that was something that I was doing over time. But that morning ritual, which is just all about me, it's a very self-driven, I am taking care of myself. So when I come to that 10 a.m., I'm ready, and it allows me a handful of things. It allows me to be okay and not need a lot from other people. And it also lowers my expectations on them, because I don't need Rocky to tell me I'm amazing. I've already done that for myself. Movement gave me those good feelings. I'm not coming in sore. I'm not coming in foggy. My head has already been turned on because I gave myself plenty of time to do that with morning ritual. And I think there's something there that we're saying, hey, we're creating this 10 a.m. non-negotiable, but you better be ready too, right? Like, and that's that like
expectation,
the expectation, and that personal responsibility of like, come in ready and caretake yourself. Almost, my therapist always used to call it like tend to your own garden. That is your job. It is no one else's job. So do it. And don't ask us to do it for you. We're going to give you the space to do it by bumping this back to 10 a.m. and not having it 8 a.m., even though all three of us are pretty big morning people.
Yeah.
But we are not going to force that. We're going to give you the space to go after and do it. But sure as shit, you better be. That's like, and we are very soft in that, but this is a hard line, right? Be ready for it and make sure you've prepped, make sure your brain's on, make sure you've taken care of yourself. I also don't feel like I get to go deal with my feelings a bit in that time of like, oh, I woke up feeling anxious. What is that about? Instead of me bringing that into the meeting and then, screwing up the vibe for the whole crew and them having to walk on eggshells because, one of their people in leadership hasn't dealt with their own shit, if you will. They don't have to do that. I want them to walk full-footed and secure.
Yeah, we want leadership, not leader shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
How
long have you been holding on to that one?
It was 30 seconds. And I was really eager to say it. So if this is something that we're able to do really well for our team, and by really well, it means that we are continually
still learning.
Yeah, trying to do better and better and getting, but we have the goal of it. How do you think that other business owners can start instilling habits in themselves? Because we know it has to be self first, because you can't teach, what you don't know. And then also in turn, the team that they leadership for, not leader shit.
Yeah. I mean,
love a double joke.
Bumper stickers.
Did you hear it the first time?
Put it on the merch list.
okay.
What?
That list is getting long.
I'm really good at coming up with terrible things to put on bumper stickers. You want to know the superpower? There it is. Go, Jen.
Yeah. There are a couple of things that I think work across the board, whether it's for yourself, for your team, for the community. And the first is having like a clear goal, right? A shared goal. I think we've used this analogy before that it's like bowling. Yes.
I love analogies.
So this is how I think, right? The pins are the goal, right? The pins are the goal. And then you put up the bumpers, right? I don't care how the team, each individual team member gets the ball down the lane. I just want them to hit the pins, right? But the bumpers are the non-negotiables. You can't skip stand up.
Nope.
But stand up is a habit that we're creating with our team, right? You got to show up at 10 a.m. every Monday. That's it. That's the habit.
And you have to be ready.
Yeah. So we look at it as a meeting, but really we're creating a habit for our team. And we're creating the expectation of how they need to show up by being ready, by being prepared for the project or whatever that looks like. However they get there, if they show up with that, I don't need to be worried that they didn't do it the way I would have done it, because what it means is that everyone on our team shows up and they feel good about the work and the ideas and whatever they're contributing. Mm-hmm. And that means that they will continue that. They will try to recreate that for every single thing that they do for us.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say for us, for Maven.
Go ahead. Tell me, because really the 10 a.m. stand-up is not the goal. Tell us the goal.
That's what I was just going to say. Yes.
Hi. Two. Hi.
Do you know what's weird about this?
What?
Is that all they can hear is you guys just grunting.
No, remember we're filmed.
Well,
we're
I know.
very tech savvy. I don't know how to do that, but it was done.
Okay. That's exactly right. The habit.
They can't hear dancing. You're right.
The ultimate habit is not for them to show up at a meeting so that we can talk about our week or our day.
What is the
We're creating, right? We're creating accountability for our team. We're creating cohesiveness, right? We're creating that teamwork.
Yeah, I also feel like we're, if we go back to the identity component of this and like the ultimate goal of what we're asking people to do, it's showing up as yourself, but it is also giving them enough space to prepare themselves in the way that we just described. And ultimately, actually, now that I'm saying that out loud, I don't know if we've actually explicitly told them that we should in fact be identifying, hey, why you're doing this. It's at 10 a.m., not 9 a.m., not because someone asked us to move it so that they had more time for a Pilates class. It's because someone sparked the idea for us to go, you know what? All of us wake up differently. All of us need to do something for ourselves in the beginning. We want our people, our team, to embrace the ethos of self is not selfishness. Take care of yourself so you can show up for the rest of the team. And then you can actually be a team player, because that's how we're defining team player.
Yeah,
in many
absolutely.
ways.
I also like the bowling analogy because there's something that I use in my own life. Like I like to take the choice out of it. And that's your bumpers, right? Mm-hmm. So my pins are, I want to take care of myself every day. And so movement for me is that non-negotiable. One of a few. My non-negotiable is movement, but the choice I give myself is what kind of movement I do. So I wake up in the morning with a little meditation, a little breath. In an ideal world, I would spend an hour silent, but I have little kids and that's just not always possible. But when I do, I love that. Maybe read some poetry, maybe super dreamy because I woke up early and there's some journaling and some movement. And the choice in that moment before movement is a quick scan of, okay, what kind of energy do I have? How does my body feel today? Mm-hmm. What did I do yesterday? What else do I maybe have on the calendar for tomorrow or the next day? And that is the choice I give myself. It is not whether or not I move. It is, okay, is this a walk? Is this a hike? Is this a lift? Is this a ski? Is this a run? Yeah. And that's the, I guess, the lane that I get to play in. But the bumpers and the goal is make sure I take care of herself. Bumpers are, you for sure need to do that.
Yeah, you got to throw the ball. You don't get a choice in playing the game.
No, and it's probably the habit I've had the longest of my life is that. But the choice is this, what do you want to do with that time before your 10 a.m., right? I don't care. I'm not going to say what you need to do, but I'm going to tell you how I'd like you to show up for the rest of the team. Yeah.
Yeah, and this always makes me think, I think I use this analogy every time that you bring this up, is that I had a friend who had kids and the kid wanted a cookie. And she was a nutritionist. So she's like, the worst thing I can do is give into the cookie, or the worst thing I can do is say no to the cookie. So what I need to do instead is offer them an apple and offer them some other fruit, like an orange. And the idea is when you as a human are told you can't have that, no, and you take away someone's choice or the agency that they have, they're going to shut down or they're going to go against the grain. But if you give them a choice, it's our job as a leader to give them a healthy choice, but never present just one option. Yeah. Always give the two, because then the choice is still for the person or the child or the team member or whatever it is. And then they get bought in because they feel from that moment, I made a choice for my own life, even if we're steering them in a certain direction that we know from experience and wisdom is healthier than the other option. And I think that's what you're alluding to with this idea of once you build a habit, once you make that success marker, you don't let it go away. You now can just have options for it. And so, in fact, it might be really helpful when I think about habits to share your habits with other people so they can help you identify apples and oranges. Because otherwise you might be like, okay, well, it's cookie or no cookie. And that's, movement
It's
or
too
no
extreme.
movement.
I mean, this is that same idea, right? Like, I'll say it. Habits are for yourself, right? Even if you're working in a team, your habits are for you to be able to show up for the team.
Self is not selfish. And then you can give to others.
Right. So however you need to do that. So if you know that you need to have morning movement in order to show up at the team stand-up to provide your best work, then you figure out the habit in which you will be able to accomplish that, right? That's your non-negotiable. That is a boundary you create for yourself. That's a bumper you create for yourself. Right?
And of course, we know that the more that we can create a culture of something, which is what we're doing through this, which is what giving your team good habits and direction on those habits can do, is now we're around people with the same type of mentality. And we are creating processes without even knowing it about how to interact and how to show up and how to do. And then it takes all of that critical thinking away. So now it's easy.
Yeah. There's a great resource we haven't mentioned yet that Atomic Habits, James Clear.
Habit
Read
stacking.
the book, listen. And the thing that I pulled most from that book was you can't improve a habit until you have a habit. And this goes back to what you were just talking about. Is just get it, right? Keep the bar really low. Keep the shoes by the door. You put the shoes on. I'm going to go outside. And it doesn't matter if I work out. I'm just going to go outside. Yeah. And next day I'm going to walk down the steps, right? And it's these little bits and pieces. Like it goes back to like, would it be great if we all had 2 hours every morning to take care of ourselves? That's dreamy, but we don't have that. Sometimes it's 20 minutes and it's like bar goes low, good enough, right?
I love that, Tessa. I think I think in summary of all of this stuff, there's just so much juiciness that I would love if you'll indulge me. I just do a little 1, 2, 3, 4. I give my little list.
Rocky loves a summary list.
We'll
call them takeaways, little nuggets of information.
Rocky, take it away.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. One, it sounds like in order to really build a habit, you need to figure out what your priorities are. Like you need to ask the hard questions, both on a personal level and a professional level. Why, what, how, and that's what you need to turn into a habit. That's the cornerstone component of things. That's the identity, so that you're not just setting an arbitrary habit. And then 2, you have to be okay with the methods that are good for you, that we are not all the same person. And so therefore, choose something that is going to, you can stick with, do it in those bite-sized pieces, which is number 3. I know I have to make sounds. I need to be big. I have a face for radio. As Jen lovingly told us earlier.
She had never heard it before.
She said it.
Funny.
So yeah, take your habit and make it bite-sized, make it attainable, celebrate the wins. If that's the 4 a.m., you're not going to wake up just randomly at 4 a.m. Set that clock every 5 minutes. And I'm going to miss this quote, so maybe Tessa, you wrote it down.
You can't improve a habit until you have a habit, or the habit you set for is you, not for anyone else.
Yes, this idea that, if you're only taking it in bite-sized pieces, that's okay. And even if you fail in those bite-sized pieces, which comes to number 4, even if you fail in those bite-sized pieces, you are literally not messing anything up, because no one but yourself put that habit in front of you. You really can't fail yourself, even though it's a hard. We should probably talk about failure in another episode, because that's deep. But and that's just part of the process. So I think that's awesome. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Find out what your priorities are. Find out what methods work for you. If it's for your team, they are individuals. Take that habit, make it bite-sized. And then also, if you are failing, that's just part of the process. That's just the progress.
Tell us the first resource that you mentioned, The Power of Habit.
Power of Habit, which actually is a huge catalyst for Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits. Those two books will give you tons of guidance, however you like to ingest them.
Jen, you got one?
Yeah. I would also recommend Essentialism, which is
Talking my sex language.
yeah, which is
Dirty.
great for figuring out priorities, right? I mean, that's what we really talk about. We're talking about creating the life that we want, the team that we want, the impact that we want to make, and so we focus on the behaviors. And in order to do that, we have to prioritize what we want.
One priority
at a time. Yeah.
I love that. Well, we have a quick question from the audience before we let you go.
I find this mind-blowing that the audience is engaged. Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Thanks, guys.
Jen
Oh, yes.
and Rocky,
Okay. That is
are
a
you
question for
working
me.
on building a new habit right now? And if so, what is it?
Well, I am not working on a new habit, but I am revising a newish habit. How about that?
Do tell.
Okay, so I took up running 7 months ago.
Ugh.
I really have to say the numbers because, well,
It's a win.
it's a win, and
big deal,
and
Jen.
frankly, I'm surprised that I'm still running, but I am, and I'm enjoying it. But I've hit a little bit of a lull, so I'm revisiting why I'm running. Like, what am I trying to create with running, right? Like, running a half marathon or running a marathon aren't the pins. It's how I'm getting there. So for me, the goal has changed, and I need to figure out what that goal is. And so I don't have a great answer to this question because
You're in it.
I haven't figured out what I'm prioritizing.
I love non-perfect answers. Thanks, Jen.
Ooh, I want to give a non-perfect answer and get
Okay,
praise.
Rocky.
Words of affirmation. Actually, I don't have an answer to this either, to be honest. I am trying to redefine the identity that I am a strategist. I am a business strategist because that has been my identity for so long. And I am trying to figure out what the reframing of those words I want them to be so that it can be broader than business strategy. Because if I suddenly just retired tomorrow, my whole identity would fall apart. And I want to be bigger than that. So I don't have a habit yet. I need to reframe first, and then I'll be able to find a habit. So I'm in the habit searching phase.
The big hairy dream phase. Yeah.
Yes, I would have never called it that, but
to nail that why, right?
Yes.
Yeah, to nail the why.
Yes.
And then you can build the roadmap, which obviously you're great at.
Thank you. Love a compliment.
I have one that I want both of y'all's help on because it is a little up there too. But today I had a small win, so I'll take it. I want to build a habit around creating more space to connect with myself and others. I, as you both know, am a pretty big driver and can find myself in overwhelm and find that I am more creative and love my life a lot more when I have more space to do things. So that's been my big hard goal this year. And this morning, I got to go skiing with Rocky Donati.
Fuck yeah!
On a
We
Tuesday.
ski the powder.
And that's something that as a really routine work-driven person was it felt like it was hard to do, and then of course it wasn't hard to do. So scheduling in space for myself is an interesting concept because it was like, oh, I'll just do it when I have more space. But it's like, no, what if you schedule in the space? It's just like my non-negotiable in the morning time. Scheduling in the open space is probably necessary.
I wonder if you're actually on the same journey I am in terms of you used it multiple times and you have used it multiple times in the past. You say the words, I am a driver.
Mm-hmm.
Who made you the driver?
And also if you are a driver, how can
Do I
you
still need to be a driver?
how can you make a habit that is counter to that personality trait? So maybe what is the version of yourself that is not a driver?
Yeah.
Something different.
I also would challenge if driving is where you feel the most comfortable, how do you drive space for yourself? Because that's going to be your natural inclination, and that might shift over time. But if you were in charge of that, this is what we talk about, like creating something that works for you already, right? So if you're naturally
We're lazy.
a
We're lazy
driver,
fish.
yeah, if you're naturally a driver, then you're the only one putting boundaries on yourself on how you're driving your time, right? There's going to be things that come up, right? You have kids and you have family stuff, you have work stuff. We put meetings on your calendar all the time. Those things happen, but you drive your schedule. So if it's your priority, you have the power to create that space for it. And so maybe it's not 3 hours every week of skiing because that seems crazy to be able to fit in. But if it's you work out every morning, right? You have movement every morning. But if you add a half hour to that or an hour to that where you don't go straight into work, you create the space you need that you get to have coffee with a friend or
even just prioritize the work that brings you the most joy out of the gate, which
Absolutely.
is not going to be email impact work.
Yeah.
So what do you, when you envision that space, or that time for space, how would you like to fill it? And then you start with an hour, and then maybe some weeks you have time to go skiing or whatever. Then you're not working in contradiction to who you are, right? You're working within what's natural for you already, and it doesn't feel like you're swimming upstream.
Bring it around to the fish. Yo.
That was for Rocky. All for Rocky.
Oh my
All
gosh.
right.
Okay.
Let's wrap
Now that we're in an eddy of the river circling, let's bring it to a wrap up. Fuck,
Okay.
I
That
love
was
you
amazing.
guys.
Thanks for.
We're so cool.
Should have asked you that. Is now March. I should have asked you that in January. So thank you all.
Never.
We start habits whenever.
Yeah, never a bad
Yep.
time to start a habit.
Yeah. Well, what a fun episode. Jen, thank you. I feel like something really cool would be to have other people on and just workshop this type of stuff because people need help. To all of our listeners and those of you who have been diligently listening from episode 1, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
We love you. Let us know if you like this guest format and tell us what other topics you want to talk about. Do you want more habits? Do you want something else? We want to know. We will connect with you on Geneva and our Instagram at maven.community. If you want to help us to continue to grow, we'd love it if you gave us 5 stars wherever you're listening today.
5.
Thank
5.
you. We really appreciate you. Love you, partners.
Love you. And scene.